In ancient times, the monarch would build fortresses to protect themselves against a potential rebellion of the public. And Judea was no exception. Both the Maccabees and King Herod have created strongholds in the Judean desert for their own protection and to protect their wealth. In the northern end is Alexandrion, Sartaba. Above Jericho there was Kippos and Dok, and east of Jerusalem was the fortress of Horkanya. On the opposite side of the Dead Sea there was Machaerus or Michvar. But at the southern end of the Judean desert stands Masada. And it is not just another fortress. It is a very complex site with complex history, both in ancient times and today. Today it is actually a great Zionist symbol, and endless groups climb up to the top to shout, "Masada will never fall again." And army units makes official ceremony here on the summit of this mountain. But why? Is it really worth being a symbol? After all, according to Josephus, the rebels at the end committed suicide. This is against the most fundamental basic Jewish law that sanctifies life. And is this really what happened? What is the archaeological testimony here at the site? Let's unfold it. The topography of Masada is just ideal for protection. The cliffs surrounding it are very steep, but the summit is almost completely flat. But for Herod, the steep cliffs are not enough. He creates a wall along the perimeter, and the northern edge is protected by another layer of a wall, a tower, and a moat. But the most spectacular building complex of Herod on Masada is undoubtedly the Northern Palace Complex, a daring design that is built in 3 giant terraces, offering grand views, shade, and amazing grandeur, both exterior and interior. But to appreciate its full beauty, you need to zoom out, to hover above it, to realize it has an upper terrace with bedrooms and a balcony, a lower terrace with reception halls with colorful frescoes and a private bathhouse, and in the middle a round tower, a tolos, which may have been a banquet and also a library. What a grand Herodian design in the middle of the wilderness. Behind the Northern Palace Complex, Herod created 28 warehouses where he stored the best of the best. A lot of imports and goods were waiting here for royal consumption, and among them was a fully complete Roman bathhouse. Herod is the first one to present the bathhouse culture in the Holy Land, and this is one of the best examples ever found in Israel. The main reason Masada is such a super brand in the state of Israel and in the Zionistic movement is because it has both a very detailed historical account and a very rich archaeological testimony. But there is not a perfect match between the two, plus the fact that the story of the suicide, let's admit, it's a bit problematic. Furthermore, there are other sites worthy of being a famous site of Jewish heroism. Gamla. In Gamla, the Jews did fight back. Or on the opposite side of the Dead Sea, the site of Machaerus was also a fortified hilltop built by the Maccabees and by Herod, and later used also by Jewish rebels. In fact, there too, the Romans had to siege it and build a Roman ramp in order to attack and conquer the site. How come you don't have Bar-Mitzvah ceremonies in Machaerus? Well, the answer in this case is quite simple. It's on the Jordanian side of the Jordan Valley. It's part of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. But it's definitely a site of heroic Judaism in antiquity. Masada, however, is the most accessible and the most famous and the most popular site here, and it's definitely a site worth visiting. Most of Masada was excavated in the 1960s by an archaeological expedition led by the renowned archaeologist Yigael Yadin. He was the one to discover the synagogue, and in this room specifically, he found bits of ancient scrolls, copies of the Old Testament. He found a piece from the book of Deuteronomy and a piece from the book of Ezekiel, Prophet Ezekiel. And the specific part of the book of Ezekiel is a prophecy that predicts that one day God will resurrect the Jewish people and bring them back to the land of Israel. And today, Rabbi Shimshon, a representative of the Chabad movement, a scribe, is sitting here and writing a Torah scroll in the same technique as those ancient manuscripts were, the same animal skin and the same handwriting and its style. What an amazing story. But the famous chapter of Masada is not the extravagant construction of Herodian palaces. The famous story here is what happens 7 years later, when the Jews decide to rebel against the Roman Empire, a rebellion that ends in a fatal destruction of Jerusalem and the burning of the Jewish temple up in Jerusalem. And according to Josephus, the main historical source of the period, nearly 1,000 Jews escape to Masada and take shelter on its summit. But the Romans eventually decide to conquer the site as well, and when they breach through the city walls, the Jews make a very critical decision. They assemble and decide to commit suicide. Maybe this is the very place where that critical decision was made. This is a synagogue. It's a place for public assembly. But archaeology doesn't tell you exactly that same story. Where are the skeletons? 960 people died here. So far, we've only found 25 skeletons of people who, in my opinion, died long before and were properly buried by other Jews. Furthermore, the Norman Palace has a ramp built over it with arrowheads stuck in it. It seems that there was a battle here on Masada, but Josephus decides to omit that part of the story for his own reasons.